Okay. Try and get my camera right. All right, you guys. So, make sure I get my face together. Jesus Christ. All right, my face is together. I am going to go ahead and start priming my face. And I'm just going to wait for some of you guys to come in so we can pick up on where we left off on Tuesday. I think today I'm going to do a little bit of moisturizer on my face, although I don't really think I need it. My face feels moisturized already. I feel like I got something in my eye. All right. So I'm just gonna, that was a lot. I did not mean to squeeze out that much. See if I can put some of it back. Okay, that was a lot. All right, give me a second here. Oh, you know what? I know what primer I'm gonna use because it broke on me the other day. So, all right, this is actually the Too Faced Hangover Primer. The bottle, somehow something happened to it, and I ended up having to open it up and squeeze it and put it into this eyelash container. Hold on. Thought I saw a comment. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. All right. So I'm just going to rub this into my skin really quickly. And then I'll go ahead and kind of jump into part 2. All right, so now that that's rubbed in, if you guys are just joining me, I'm just saying this for when people do actually start coming in, but if you guys are just joining me, this past Tuesday, I did a Facebook Live just kind of speaking to why I had slowed down on going live on Facebook, because I was having like a lot of personal things happening in my life that just, it took precedence. Like it needed my immediate attention. So I did try to take the live from Facebook and bring it over to YouTube, but I was having a little bit of difficulty with it. Once I actually do or am able to get it transferred over here, then of course I'll go ahead and post it so that the people who aren't really aware of what I'm talking about or where I'm coming from can be up to speed on what is going on. I don't know how long YouTube gives me, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of jump right into it. So the last thing I remember telling y'all, and if you were in the live on Facebook and you kind of remember where I stopped, or if you hear something and if I've already said it, then definitely let me know, chime in, and I'll see if I can move past that. But the last thing that I honestly remember was, oh, I'm sorry. Let me put just a very small disclaimer out there. So the reason for the live on Tuesday was just to kind of let you guys know what happened in the past and how it's led up to where we are today. I am not hurting from what happened in the past. This is a situation that I have very much grown past. But I was just telling you guys what it was so that you're not lost when I start providing new information. Yeah, that's really all that was. You know, it wasn't like a new situation that just happened a couple of weeks ago and I'm in this bad headspace. That's not what it was. It's just that I saw that I had some new followers, and I wanted everybody to kind of be up to speed so that when I do start on this journey, as far as talking about the space that we are in now, nobody is lost. So yes, I am okay. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just very passionate about my family, my career, and my kids. So anytime you hear me speak about those things, I am going to look a little bit more serious. I am going to, just my facial expressions, my body gestures, everything will probably change because those are things that are near and dear to my heart that I'm passionate about. So I just want to kind of put that out there because I did get a lot of good positive feedback, but then I also got, just like people just being genuinely concerned, and I get it. But I want y'all to know that I am definitely okay. And yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So anyway, the last thing that I remember telling y'all about was like when he came home and I was kind of going through the motions. Initially when he came home after all the stuff had happened, I asked for a divorce, I can't say that was like one of my proudest moments because it really wasn't, but I felt like at the time when he did what he did that when you're in a relationship with somebody and you, prior to being in like a relationship with them, you've already explained to them the amount of hurt or trauma that you've been through previously, you would expect that that person is not going to take you through the same thing that you felt like broke you or, made you out to be somebody you didn't want to be, made you out to be a mean person, a hateful person, a bitter person. You would think that they wouldn't take you through those things. So my sole purpose for asking him for the divorce was because I felt like you knew what I went through previously, and instead of being a man of your word and not taking me through those things, for whatever reason, you felt the need to try your luck. You felt the need to take me through those things. So I feel like you didn't respect what I said. You didn't respect how the situation made me feel. You didn't respect the person that it made me be, knowing that it made me be somebody that I was not proud of. And yet, and still, you decided, hey, I'm going to take her through this anyway. And whether the thought was to take me through a situation or not, I honestly feel like there was no consideration, pretty much. So, I don't know. I can't say, I feel like sometimes I can't say that, like, oh, it was intentional, but I do feel like you were very well aware of what it was you were doing. Like you knew it was something that you shouldn't have been doing. So I don't know. But anyway, when he got home, I asked for a divorce. And one of the reasons that I asked for a divorce is because I felt like I didn't want to be one of those women that said that this is a deal breaker, but then didn't follow through when the deal was clearly broken, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't want to be one of those women who was not a woman of her word. And so, rightfully so, I felt like, hey, you did this, and this is your consequence, And when I asked him for a divorce, he was very much so against giving me a divorce. He straight up told me no to my face. He was just like, "No, I'm not divorcing you." And I was upset. So not only are you not agreeing to give me a divorce after you've broken, the trust, you've broken pretty much the agreement, the contract, but I feel like you're also being selfish in a way. You know, to know that you did something, to know that what you did was wrong, to know what the deal breakers were going into the situation, and to know what the consequences could have been or would have been. I feel like it's selfish to say, nah, I'm not giving you a divorce. You know, I know I messed up, but I'm not giving you a divorce because I want a second chance. And I feel like you don't always get a second chance with everybody. You know what I mean? There are some people who have just been through too many traumatic things in their life, and they don't want to put up with any additional hurt, pain, whatever. Like, they might not mentally have the capacity to put up with your BS. They might not emotionally have the bandwidth to withstand what you're going to do to them. So I do feel like when you do things to certain individuals, depending on what their trauma is and what they've gone through, you might not get a second chance. You know, and I also feel like if you truly love somebody, why would you want to put yourself or them in a position to have to break that bond, break that trust? You know, it's really hard once the trust is broken, because it's almost um it's almost like starting over from scratch, because you have to wipe the slate clean. Like, you have to reinvent yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you can't come back as the person you were, because the person you were was not genuine. The person you were was not true. So it's almost like you have to reinvent yourself and come up with a whole new identity. And for the person who lost the trust in you, that can be very confusing, because in your mind you think, well, was he this person? Like, was he A, this person, or is he B, this person that he is now? So it's very draining. It's very confusing. So I think to just not even lose the trust in the first place is a very big deal. So I'm about to use the P. Louise base. I'm about to use the number 3. And rumor base, the number 3. Once I find it. Yeah, here it is. And that's what I'm going to use to conceal under my brows today. So, yeah, didn't want to give me a divorce. I asked him, you know, since he didn't want to give me a divorce, I asked him if we could separate. You know, I felt like I want to move out. My whole purpose for feeling that way is because I really didn't trust him. I needed some time to just kind of think. I needed some time to clear my head and be able to make logical, rational decisions. I didn't really want to make any decisions based off of emotions, because one thing that my mom has always told me is that emotions change. You know what I mean? You may feel mad one day, and then, you know, 2 or 3 days down the line, a week down the line, you feel different. You may want to forgive this person. You may want to move on. So my mom has always been very big on not acting out out of emotions, and that wasn't something that I was always good at. I do recall times in my younger days when I would act off emotions, and honestly, each time that I can remember, it didn't turn out well for me. It probably didn't turn out well for the other party. So this was one of those times where I knew for a fact I didn't want to act on my emotions. I just really wanted some time to like process it and think. At this time, I felt like I'm older now, and I can't be like throwing a tantrum, you know, because my husband made a selfish choice. It's like you really have to like man up, so to speak. You really have to like put your adult panties on and be an adult about the situation, which is why adulting sucks sometimes, because sometimes you do want to be childish and you do want to be petty, and you know, you do want them to hurt as much as you hurt. But when you're in the headspace where you are trying to mature and you're trying to grow and you're trying to do what you think is best for not only you but everybody involved, that calls for a level of maturation where being childish or being petty can't be present, you know. And that's pretty much what it was for me. And so, of course, when I asked him, you know, I said, hey, I want to move out, he was very much against me moving out. And I was upset about it. I was very upset about it because I was like, how you just gonna dictate, you know, get to dictate and determine like how this situation goes down? Like, you can't do that. You can't play, hey honey, you can't play judge and juror. You can't do that. And what I mean by that is that you can't create a situation and then decide you want to also give yourself the consequences. That's not realistic. That's not how the real world works. You know what I mean? That's just, for all intents and purposes, it's really ass backwards, if I'm just going to be honest. Like, you can't commit a crime and then decide, okay, well, I committed a crime and the crime was, you know, heinous. It was you know, really horrible, and because the crime was heinous and the crime was horrible, but I feel like I'm still a good person, I'm only going to give myself 3 days of punishment. No, you can't do that. You know, you don't get to play judge and jury. You just don't. So when he decided, you know, that he wasn't going to let me leave or didn't want me to leave, I was very upset. In my mind, my first thing was, well, how the hell do I fix this? Because now I have to be here with him every day, and I have to look at him, and I have to know that this is what he chose. Like, instead of you choosing to be my husband, and instead of you choosing to be my teammate and my partner, you went against me. And it was just really hard for me to swallow that pill, because I felt like, with him knowing the prior situation, how late am I? We are almost 18 minutes into it, so you're not too late. But I do feel like with him knowing what the prior situation was, I think anytime you're in a relationship and you are with somebody and y'all have definitely have the odds stacked up against you already, you don't expect the person that you're supposed to be in a relationship with to literally stab you in the back. That's not your expectation. And I say that because I knew what our odds were. I knew how people felt about he and I being together. I knew how people felt about how we got together, and, you know, just questioning the whole dynamic. So I already knew it. So honestly, I expected for outside people to try and do things, but you never suspect that your partner is the one who is going to stab you in the chest. And it wasn't even a stab in the back, because I never saw it coming. You know what I mean? I think it's one thing when you see it coming, you can kind of protect yourself. But for me, I felt like this wasn't him stabbing me in the back. This was him stabbing me in my chest. Like, it was just a whole nother level of disrespect for me, I guess, you know? So he didn't want to let me move out. And that night, you guys, we talked about the whole situation in depth, because I was like, okay, if he don't want to let me move out and I have to stay here with him, I need to know what was your thought process when all of this was happening? Like, what led you to this? Now, I've said this before and I will definitely say it again. This has been his behavior. This has been his pattern with his first 2 marriages. And again, I know you guys are probably thinking, well, Rita, what made you think you were so different? I will say this time and time again, and I will sound like a broken record if I need to. Nothing made me feel like I was different. Nothing at all. He was the one who's supposed to be different. He was the one who stated, I'm not this person anymore. Hey T, I'm not this person anymore. This is not the man I am. And I feel like when you genuinely want to change, you change. That's what I honestly think. I feel like when you genuinely want to change, you change. And I also don't feel like you can really hang a person's past over their head. You know what I mean? Um Sometimes you have those life altering situations that they really do shape you, they really do mold you, and they transform who you are and how you view life. And so I couldn't take that away from him, because if you're saying you're changed, then you're changed. It's not really on you to prove um anything to me, more so than it is to prove it to yourself, you know. So, we talked about this situation in detail. If y'all want to know what the details of the conversation were, then just comment in the comments section and I will do another live or I'll make a video on it. So yeah, what I did was I did the concealer first. Honestly, with the concealer, I know that a lot of people pack it in really heavy, but you don't want to do that. You really want to pack the concealer in light. And then once you pack it in and you have it a very smooth surface, it's very flat, you're able to work with it. Then go back in and you can set the concealer. Because I use the P. Louise base, I probably wouldn't have had to set it. I've used the P. Louise base before and I haven't had to set it and it won't crease. The P. Louise base does get like a really tacky consistency. So if you just give it time to dry down, it'll get tacky and you can still work with it without setting it. I personally go back and set the P. Louise base because I know I have hooded lids and I know that regardless of what the makeup is, sometimes that creasing will happen for me. So I don't want that to happen. I'm going to use this the Jaclyn Hill 2 palette, volume 2. I have no idea what look I'm going to go for today. I don't know if I want to do something simple or if I want to do something like really colorful. But we'll see. We'll see. So, literally that night, you guys, we went to sleep. I really didn't have anything else to say to him after we had the conversation in detail. Colorful. I really didn't have anything else to say to him after we had the conversation in detail because for me, I was trying to unpack everything that he said. So I was trying to process. I was trying to see how what he said affected me, how I felt. Was it logical? Does it make sense? What part of it is he blowing smoke up my ass? I was really just trying to separate the truth from BS, honestly. So colorful juju on the beat. So yeah, that's what I was really trying to do. I'm trying to find a transitional shade, y'all. I'm just gonna go slightly in with love handles, and I'm going to sweep love handles across the crease of my eye, and then we'll start packing in some color. So yeah, I was really just trying to determine what was bullshit and what was the truth. And again, like I said, if you guys want me to go in depth about the conversation, I can definitely do so in another video. But the conversation was really lengthy, and that's just why I'm saying that. So the next day, I literally get up. I didn't speak to him at all. Decided, I had to go to work, so I got dressed for work. Went ahead and left for work, and he had literally come to my job, and because we were in such a crummy place, I think the first day that he came to my job, he came to my job with flowers, right? And I can't say that I was impressed because I'm still trying to process that you did what you did. So that was not impressive to me. I was just like, you're in recovery mode right now. You are trying to save the situation, you know. I don't know how he felt, honestly. I I can't say, I don't know. I don't want to say he felt bad because I don't know what his feelings were really. But he did bring flowers to my job, and I was like, okay, flowers. And then, we went home, didn't really talk about it or talk to each other that day. The next day, I went outside to get ready to go to lunch, and there was like a note sticking in my windshield. I actually thought it was a citation, but then I was like, you're at work, your car's in a parking lot. Why would you get a citation? And so I get up to my car, and there was like this really lengthy note on my windshield, just him saying how sorry he was. I hate that. Don't come to my job with flowers. And man, I was like, don't. I feel like if it's at home, it's at home. Don't bring it to my job. Like, it was already bad enough that I had to find out the way I did at work, and my presentation went to shits. And so now here you are bringing personal stuff to my workspace. I ain't really care for that. Um. So yeah, the next day there was like a 2 or 3 page letter in my windshield, and I don't think I read it. I think the first day I actually just threw the letter into my console because I was just like, I mean, now you got everything to say. I could do without it. And so that was that. And then let me go. I'm gonna do my other side before I dip into that. And then the next day there was another letter, and then I think he put letters in my car, honestly, you guys, for probably 2 or 3 weeks straight. Like, every time I went out to my car at lunchtime, there was a letter. And honestly, each time that I saw that there was a letter, it just pissed me off. I'm not going to even lie to y'all. It made me so mad because I was like, where was all of this consideration when you was out here thought boxing? Like, where was all the consideration then? So, eventually I did get around to reading the letters, all of them, and some of them had me feeling some kind of way, but then I would always mentally I would always go back to that space of, but you shitted on me. That was like but you shitted on me. So, I was having like mixed emotions about the letters because for as sentimental and as heartfelt as I think he wanted them to be, all I could think about the fact is, my husband was very inconsiderate. So, um, yeah, that was pretty much it. There was a time where I came out a couple times that he had left flowers in my windshield. Um, and I was annoyed with that because I was like, I don't really give two F's about your flowers right now. So there was a couple times I went out and there was flowers in my windshield. There was a couple times for a long time that I went out and there were letters and cards and just, pretty much everything. And it was almost kind of freaking me out in a sense because I was like, how are you finding all this time to come to my job? Like, is he watching me? I don't know. I was just like, ooh. It was almost kind of stalker-ish, but I don't know if you can really say that if somebody's your husband. So there was one time specifically that some of my coworkers and I decided that we were going to go to lunch together. It's just two chicks that I met at work who were really amazing, really awesome, and these are two chicks that I hung out with frequent, like every day. These were like my lunch buddies. And so decided, we were going to lunch one day, like any other day. And I was actually feeling myself this day. Like, my hair was cute, my makeup was popping. I was on my best shit because I was like, okay, my husband done shitted on me. Let me remind you that, like, you don't have the average girlfriend. And it's not even to toot my own horn and sound arrogant or big-headed in any way, but I know that I'm not ugly. I know that I'm smart. I know, what qualities I hold. Like, I know the level of woman I am. And it's like, so it's just kind of like, let me remind you. You know what I mean? Like, you really out here wilding. I feel like once you get to a spot to where you done leveled up for real, you really shouldn't do nothing that's gonna drop you levels. Just honestly. So, we were getting ready to go to lunch, and my friend, she had driven her husband's truck to work that day. Now, she drove his truck, and I posted a picture. We were at lunch. I posted a picture in front of his truck. And so I posted a picture in front of his truck, and he texted me and was like, "Who are you with?" And I'm just like, why? Like, what's it to you? Why does it matter who I'm with? And he was like, tell me who you with. And I knew I wasn't doing anything. Like, you're not about to push your insecurities off on me because you effed up. I don't have to, like, no, I don't owe you that. I'm not doing nothing. Like, I'm not pulling a you on me. Like, I'm not doing that. So I felt like I didn't owe him no explanation. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm not in the wrong for doing anything that I'm doing. And you're not about to, you're not about to do that to me. Like, you're not about to make me explain myself to you because you fucked up and now you're insecure and your insecurities are being pushed off on me because you don't know if I'm doing anything to get back at you. So I was like, I don't have to tell you who I'm with. Like, I'm with who I'm with. And that's just really what my response was. So we go have lunch. I didn't post a picture of where we had lunch at because I felt like, okay, he gonna try and pop up, and like I don't have time for that. So I didn't post a picture of where we had lunch at. But we ended up, what did we do? Oh, we ended up going to like this corner store. I say corner store, but it was like a liquor store. And my friend had bought her husband some liquor, on her lunch break because he asked her to. So we end up going to this liquor store. She buys the liquor. We're on our way back to the job. Lo and behold, y'all, he is sitting in the parking lot. And so I'm like, what gives? And so my homegirl was like, I was like, girl, why is my husband here? And she was like, Rita, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I said, you know what? Just keep driving. I was like, I'm not gonna do this with him. Like, you're not about to pull me off to the side and, do all this dancing. What I mean by dance is like create all this drama and stuff in front of my building. I was like, so just keep driving. And so she proceeds to drive past. Yes, it's still the same color. So she proceeds to drive past the door of our job. And when she did that, y'all, he literally started following us. Like, he was hightailing behind her. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, she pulled past the door and he was following us. And I was like, she said, girl, is he following us? And I said, just keep driving. Like, I'm not finna deal with this. So he literally is driving behind us. He's trying to see who it is driving. Her husband's windows on his car were tinted. And so he's trying to see who it is driving. Like, he honestly, y'all, was driving like a bat out of hell. Okay. And I think that was just jealousy, just being paranoid. You know what I mean? Like, when you know you done did wrong, that shit sits in. It really sits in. I can't pull my eye because I need to cut this crease. So he was literally like driving all crazy, um, behind us. And when finally I was like, okay, we can't do this. Like, we gotta go ahead and clock back in. Like, we can't do this. So he calls me and he's like, why did y'all drive past the door? And I was like, why are you here? Like, why are you at my place of employment? What do you want? And he's like, who's driving the car? And I'm like, why? Like, you wilding, you tripping out. You did this. Like, bro, I'm not doing nothing to you. Like, I don't have to explain myself to you. Like, nah, we not finna do this. So she ends up trying to decide if I want to cut that higher or not. So she ends up, I was like, girl, let's go back because we got to clock in, okay? Like, money is important. So we go back to clock in, and she's like, all right, I'm going to let you out at the door. And so, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but how do you keep that part of the cellar from caking? So to keep it from caking, the same thing that you do with when you're applying it to your lid, whenever you're cutting your crease, is you apply, like, literally, I put a little dot on the back of my hand. I'm literally tapping in it like this. I make sure that it covers the whole brush and that it's smooth. And then I'm just tapping it and applying it to my eye. That's the only way it's not going to be cakey. The problem with concealer when most people do it is that they pack it on. And honestly, with concealer, a little bit goes a long way. So you don't need to pack it in, but you do need to make sure that the surface is just even when you're packing it in. I don't know if that made sense to you. Let me know. So anyway, yeah, she lets me out at the door. And the reason she lets me out at the door is because there was literally nowhere else to park in the front. Because we had driven around, because he was like following so dead ass close behind us. We all the parking spots in the front were gone, so we couldn't park. So she dropped me off at the door, and immediately when she drops me off at the door, he throws his car in park. He's like, who the F is that in the truck? And who is this and who is that? Y'all, I'm talking about making a scene. For real, making a scene. And I'm just looking at him like, wow. Like, wow, you know? Like you the one out here wilding, and here you are questioning me as if I'm doing something. So I was just kind of, woof, child. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So this is what that is. That's what we're doing. So he was like, yeah, who is that in the truck? And blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. Who is it? Yada, yada, yada. He literally stayed until my homegirl parked the damn truck and got out. And so then after she parks the truck and gets out and he sees who it was, I was already inside the building at this point. He texts me and goes, why you playing games with me? Who playing games? Nobody asked you to come up to my job. You did that on your own volition. Like, nobody told you to be chasing down a damn car because you done did some shit you wasn't supposed to do and now you insecure. Nobody told you to do that. Like, you got inside your own head. I don't owe you that. You know? So he was like, why are you playing games with me? No, 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 baby. You playing games with yourself. Nobody told you to do that. Like, it wasn't that serious. And if you was going to be this insecure after you did what you did, guess what? You shouldn't have did what you did. Ta-da! Point blank. So, I'm just adding a little bit of black and then a little bit of purple because I kind of want to deepen this up. Really want to make it like a plum kind of color. So yeah, he's all upset and whatnot. And so I pretty much told him the same thing. I was just like, hey, look, I didn't do anything. Like, you know, you brought this upon yourself. You the one decided to come to my job. All because of a picture I posted, y'all. All because of a picture. And so, you know, that was that. So anyway, lo and behold, we get to the house that night. You know, he was upset. I was upset. I don't even remember that we talked to each other that night. And honestly, it was probably for the best that we didn't. But yeah, I was just sitting there thinking the whole time, like, I don't know how you fix yourself to do all of this, you know, knowing good and dang on well, like you wrong. And now you done created insecurities in yourself and you making me try and pay for your faults. Like, that's not okay. So, trying to pick a color. I'm going to go back and deepen all of this up, but I'm just trying to decide on the color right now. I think we'll go with this purple. It's a little vibrant. So, ooh, that is very pigmented. Girl, come on. So, yeah, that was that day. Shortly after I did leave that job, I started working somewhere else. And, yeah, that was just kind of like that on that. But we started to have conversations about, you know, I started to just kind of feel away, honestly. I started to kind of feel away, and he would often ask me, and if I can just be honest with y'all, like, I'm not the type of person to, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm very open. I'm very, uh, I just don't feel the need to lie. Like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm grown, and whatever the consequences are gonna be, that's just what it's gonna be. So I'm gonna take my consequences. But we did start to have conversations because he asked me. He was like, hey, like, do you think, do you love me? And I was like, yeah, I love you. And he was like, do you feel like you want to cheat on me? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Of course I feel like I want to cheat on you. He was like, have you cheated on me? Have I cheated on you? No, but do I want to? 100%. you know? And I think when I told him that, it made him feel some kind of way. I'm sure it made him feel some kind of way. But to me, I felt like I'm not going to do you the disservice of lying to you like you lied to me. I'm going to be honest with you because honestly, I do want to cheat on you. And I wasn't looking, to cheat with anybody, but yeah, I definitely wanted to cheat. I was like, oh yeah. And so when I said it, he kind of had this look on his face like, almost like, girl, this bitch is too honest, It was almost like that kind of a look. But I just wanted him to know like how serious it was for me. Like, yeah, I do want to cheat on you. Do I still love you? Of course, but do I want to pay you back? Absolutely. Is that the type of payback I want to give to you though? Not really. And the thing about women is that when we do cheat, we never cheat down. Like, we always cheat up. For whatever reason, men cheat down and they think they supposed to get some kind of cool points or something for cheating down. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, asked me if I wanted to cheat. I told him yeah. I had already started working a new job, and I was telling him, like, hey, there are men at my job who they was definitely trying to shoot their shot. Well, I don't know if they, well, I guess I can't say they wasn't trying to shoot their shot. They was trying to shoot their shot. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, they was definitely trying. Um, there was one guy who was, buying me flowers probably every week. Honestly, he was buying me flowers. Every week that I came in, there was like a new set of flowers on my desk. I started bringing the flowers home. I was really being messy, but I really wanted him to see like people be trying to get at me too, like, you know. And the thing about it for me was that, well, what he told me was that he was like, dudes always try and talk to you, He said that the reason he did it is because he felt like it was an ego thing, I guess. And he was like, dudes always trying to talk to you and it's always somebody in your inbox. And my thing is like, yeah, guys do always try to talk to me, but I don't entertain it. Like, it don't do nothing for me. That don't stroke my ego. Like, a dude trying to talk to me don't do nothing for me. Especially, and I was as dedicated as I was to my marriage. Like, yeah, dude's gonna try and talk to me, but I'm not entertaining this shit. I look at it and I keep it moving, or I'll delete it and won't entertain it. I don't know. I'm just not that person. And so he was saying that, I was pretty much just being messy. Yeah, I was just pretty much being messy, just trying to show him like, if I wanted to cheat on you and have another dude, I could with no problem. It's nothing, It's not an issue, really, honestly, truly. But so yeah, I was bringing the flowers and stuff home just to kind of fuck with him. And of course, he was upset. He was like, "Don't you bring no more flowers in my house? Don't you this? Don't you that?" Like, yeah, I got options. Like, for real, like, your wife is not ugly, okay? I got options. He's like, don't bring no more flowers home and don't this and don't that. And at that point, y'all, honestly, I was like, you don't tell me what to do. Like, nah, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do. Like, let me show you, sir, that you're not the only one trying to be the only one. Let's just be real. Like, you ain't the only one trying to be the only one, son. If I wanted to dip on you, I could. Seriously. So, like I said, he ain't really like that whole get down. But I was just trying to prove a point, Like, I wasn't entertaining it, but I did want to let him know, I could be choosing if I want to. I can be choosing. So, anywho, um, in year two, I didn't really talk to him that much. Like, we were living in the same house, um, sleeping in the same bed, sleeping in the same room, but I really didn't have much to say to him. Honestly, because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do or how I wanted to go with the relationship. So I just wasn't really sure like what to say to him, and I wanted to be genuine in whatever I did because it's like, okay, if I'm gonna really try and make it work, I can't be petty. I can't be an a-hole. I really have to try and make it work, bull, that. And so I was really just debating like, what do I want to do? And honestly, because he had already did what he did, I was actually enjoying the attention that I was getting because it was like, yeah, like you did what you did, but understand, like, I don't know. I was enjoying the attention. I was like, yeah, you shitted on me, but I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have fun with this. And so, a couple guys were, and I would tell, like, I wasn't keeping it a secret or nothing like that. Like, anytime somebody took me to lunch, I would tell him, oh, hey, so and so. I wouldn't name drop, but I would say, yeah, like, my friend took me to lunch today, and, so and so, we went and got breakfast, and blah, blah, blah. And the whole reason I did is because I've told him time and time before, like, I'm not the type of person, like, I'm not gonna do some shit and then not own up to it. And I've always told him that in the event that I were to do something to get back at you, like, I'm gonna go out. Like, if I gotta go out, I ain't gonna go out small, child. I've never been that person. Even as a kid, whenever I did something and I knew I was gonna get in trouble, I feel like, hey, if I'm gonna get in trouble, I might as well go out of the way and get out of the way in trouble. That's just how I see it. Go big, that's just that might sound messed up, y'all, but that's how I think. Like, it don't make no sense to get 10 licks for stealing one piece of candy when I know I can get 10 licks for stealing the whole damn bag. Like, it's still the same 10 licks, so might as well steal the whole bag. So so yeah, that was my thought process. I told him, if I ever were to do something, he's never gonna have to hear it from somebody else. Like, you'll always hear it from me first. It's my shit, so to speak. So you're not gonna never have to hear nothing about me from somebody else. I'll always give it to you straight. Whether it hurts you or not. My thing is, well, I was honest and I told the truth. That way I can give you a decision. Let you decide if you want to deal with my BS. Like, I don't want to make a decision for you, unlike he did for me. So that's just how I feel. So that's what that was. So, yeah, I was having lunch with a couple people, and honestly, I've made it very clear, like, oh, I'm married. I'm not looking for nothing. I ain't trying to do nothing with nobody. And these guys knew it, and they respected. Like, they was like, I'm still gonna keep buying you flowers, and I'm still gonna bring you lunch, and I'm still gonna bring you breakfast, and I'm still gonna fill your gas tank up, and just little small stuff. Nothing too major, but just the little small stuff. And I would tell him. It did get to a point though where I felt like I started kind of reverting back to, like I told y'all, the person that I didn't want to be. Um, I started purposely coming home late. I started purposely like working late. If they were having like a little project at work, I typically don't volunteer for projects because I be wanting to like work my little 12 hours and then go home. But I started to like volunteer for projects because I was like, what's the rush? What am I rushing to get home to? I didn't want to be at home, so I would volunteer for extra projects, or I would volunteer to stay late, or like coworkers would be going out to a club or whatever, and I really don't do the whole club scene. I did that in my 20s, and honestly, that just ain't been my thing for quite some time. Um, but I would literally go out to the club with coworkers And I would just, you know, sit and watch them have fun and do their thing, just so I wouldn't have to be at home, just because I wasn't ready to like be in this, um, you know, just have the bad energy. I wasn't ready to have to go home and just deal with having the bad energy of knowing that this is the space that we're in. So he definitely didn't like it. Um, and I wasn't like nice about it either. That's why I told y'all, like, I'm no saint. I was not nice about the way I went about doing it. Cause he would text me and be like, I'm just texting to kind of see how you are, if you're okay. And I feel like, yeah, I don't owe you that. I'm not telling you if I'm okay, and I'm not telling you how I am, and I'm just not, you know, I'm not. Whatever you think is what you think. Whether I'm okay or not is not your concern. And I would tell him, like, hey, I'm grown, you know, don't police me. Like, I'm a grown ass woman. I do what I want when I want. You're not finna police me. You're not finna be like, well, you should have been home by now, and it's this time, and I can tell time. I know what time of night it is. I don't need your assistance. And so I was very much an asshole, um, honestly, with that whole little situation. And it was pretty much like every time we went out, I was like, yeah, I'm not. I just felt like I didn't owe him that. Like, now you want to know if I'm okay, and now you want to know if I'm safe, and you want to know if I ate and what time am I coming home, and I just like I don't owe you that. And that's just how I felt. And so because I felt like I didn't owe him that, I didn't make it a point to disclose my information to him, or who I was with, or what I was doing, because I wanted him to wonder. I wanted him to wonder the same way I wondered, you know, which I know that's not right, but I'm just being honest, telling y'all that that's what it was. That's where my head was. Um, I wanted to I wanted to make him hurt, you know. I mean, they say hurt people, and I was definitely hurting. So, oh yeah, we definitely have to hold men accountable for their actions. But this was one of those times where he downplayed the situations so badly, guys. Like, he downplayed it at every point where I feel like we could have made progress. If he just would have owned up to what he did, he downplayed it at every turn. And that's what made me feel like we're never going to get past stage one, because you can't admit that, like, this is what you did. Like, he just wasn't ready to say, you know, I don't know, he wasn't ready, and I couldn't make him be ready. And the more that he wasn't ready, it was like the more that I moved away from wanting to make it work. I feel like if you show me that you're at least trying and you want to attempt to make it work, I can work with that. But I can't work with anybody or anything if you can't face what you actually did. If you won't, you know, be accountable for what you did. And he didn't want to be. Like, he wasn't ready. He was not ready. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, until you're ready, this is the space that we're going to be in. And that was a space that he created. And I still feel like he doesn't know that that's the space that he created. Like, so yeah, that went on for at least, I'm going to probably say that went on for at least a year. Like, I think I was literally just finding stuff to do. Like, I would get off work and I would go and drive to the park, and I would literally like sit at the park. I would go and get off work and drive to a lake and just like sit at the lake, or anywhere but home. You know what I mean? Anywhere but home. That's what I was doing. Anywhere but being at home. So I'm just putting a little bit more primer on my face since I wiped off that excess eyeshadow. I have like a little spot right there that I have to clean up. So and I'll clean it up in a minute, but it ain't gonna happen right now. How are the kids during this time? So this was probably like year 2. Honestly, the kids didn't really know. They actually started to find out piece by piece because I told y'all his ex-wife was the one that did everything. My oldest son was telling me that she was kind of, when they would go to her house where their dad was, that she was bragging about it, you know? Almost like, oh, I set him up and she thinks she got a good man and he this and he that. And that's how my kids found out about it. My kids did not find out because I sat them down and had a conversation with them, blah, blah, blah. That ain't how they found out. They found out because she was actually, or they overheard her talking about it. I do know for a fact that she posted it to her Facebook page. Um, yeah. So she was definitely like, airing it out. Definitely airing it out. Yeah. So that's it took them a while to put two and two together. At the time, my kids were a little bit younger than what they are now. But as they got older, they started to kind of put, yeah. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But as they got older, they started to kind of put two and two. I'm not going to say kind of. They started to put two and two together. I think at the time when this happened, let's see, 4 years ago. At the time when this happened, my oldest was 14. My second to the oldest was 11, and Madison was 4. So, and the reason I say my kids have always been very mature. I'm not the type of parent to sugarcoat anything for my kids. I'm one that I want to be as open as I possibly can without making them grow up too fast, but giving them enough information to make an educated and informed decision, if that makes sense. So they have always been very mature, very smart kids. Common sense is completely there. So it wasn't hard for them to put two and two together when they would hear things over there, or they would see behaviors over here, or they would see behaviors over. It wasn't hard for them to put things together. So once they did finally put things together, that's when I actually had a talk with them. When they came to me and was like, okay, Mom, we want to talk to you about blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they miss you too, especially Mikhail. Yeah, they are very smart kids. They put two and two together really well, and I think that within itself is what made them pull away from Brandon the way that they did, because it showed them who he was as a man. And I think things like that do show your true colors, and um they either make you or break you, and this was one of those situations where it didn't work out well for him as far as it goes with my kids. So yeah, that was that. I'm using the Tarte Double Duty Beauty Foundation. I don't know what shade this is in. This is in the shade Tan Deep Sand. So that's what I'm using today. I don't know how long YouTube gives me, y'all, but if it cuts off, I'll start it back up. So yeah, that was pretty much that. That's how they found out. That's how they were doing. It was not, ideally, it wasn't how I wanted them to find out. I really just wanted to be able to him to have a conversation with them. And the reason I say I wanted him to have a conversation with them is because I feel like whenever you do something and you have to tell somebody else why you're in the situation that you're in, there is a level of accountability there, because you actually have to admit to your wrongdoings. So I felt like if I were to go to them and tell them, okay, hey y'all, I know things are different in the household, and the reason they're different is because X, Y, and Z. It's almost as if he's not man enough or has enough courage or respect to go to them as a man and as their step parent and say, you guys, I messed up. Your mom is feeling like this because I did X, Y, and Z. So I didn't want to be the one to go to them and say, hey, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. I wanted him to just own his shit, own your shit. Take whatever consequences, repercussions come from that, and then try to build, like, start over, build a solid foundation. And it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because, this is their bonus parent. He is somebody who, you're not their biological, so you don't have that same connection with them that I have with them. One thing that I do know is that kids are very, very resilient, and if you are putting forth the effort to actually change, to actually be better, a lot of times they will gravitate towards you even more than they did before. But they have to see that the effort is there. So I didn't want to insert myself in something that I felt like he needed to do as far as rebuilding a relationship. I hope that makes sense. Um, so yeah, ideally I wanted him to just have a talk with them and own up to what he did. I think there's just so much accountability when you have to face your peers and say, this is what it was and this is why things are the way they are. I think it's also a very valuable teaching lesson, because you're owning up to your mistakes, and you're also saying, I'm trying to figure out how to fix this. Like, what's the best way for me to go about, regaining your trust, showing you that, people make mistakes, but they can change from those mistakes. So I really wanted him to, who is that? So I really wanted him to do that, and he did not. He did not. And honestly, I can't really say if he has or hasn't to this day. Really, I don't recall. I don't want to say yes he has and no he hasn't. I just don't remember. The boys would probably remember better than I have, or I would, but I just don't remember. And I don't want to say he still hasn't done that to this day, and then he actually has. But the effort to rebuild that relationship, or those relationships with the boys, is definitely lacking. So I can't attest to that. Um so yeah, so year 2, you guys, I was every bit of the word and every bit of the sense, I was an asshole. I'm just being honest with y'all. I was an asshole. Yeah, I was just a 100% mean, you know? But I think that I did that just honestly, like, as a defense mechanism, because I felt like you already hurt me. I'm not about to give you the opportunity to hurt me again. And in order for you to not hurt me, I just have to make sure that I don't let my guard down, which is a horrible way to live, because, I'm in a house with this person. And you shouldn't have to walk around your house, on eggshells. You just shouldn't. But that's how I was feeling. How did they meet? How did who meet? How did me and my husband meet? Whew, that is a whole nother video. That's a whole nother video. And that is a lengthy video. So, yeah. Let's use... Yeah, that's a lengthy video. I mean, I'll make the video, or I can do a live on it, but it's lengthy. So yeah, I didn't really... Year 2, there was little conversation. His way of trying to make things better, I think, was he would buy me stuff, Like, I would say, oh, I want something, and then all of a sudden something that I wanted would appear. And I took my gifts, of course, but that didn't fix the situation. And, you know, No amount of money could have fixed the situation, honestly, at that point, because I was just really in recovery mode. Like, it's really all that was. It's just I was in recovery mode. So no amount of gifts would have fixed it. But I do just recall him, every time I said I wanted something, he would give in to me. Even if, you know, financially it wasn't the smart decision to make, he was still you know, get whatever I asked for. So that got old really fast though. It was just, I was kind of over that. And I was just kind of over that because that's the same way my last relationship was. Like, anytime me and the guy that I dated before him would get into it, he would just go and buy me some expensive crap and, you know, on to the next problem, issue, whatever. But that's pretty much how that went down. So that got old really fast. And then I think around we were coming into our 2-year anniversary, and it just kind of hit me, you know, like a rock. I was like, dang, we're about to be married 2 years and we haven't made any progress. Like, this situation has happened and we honestly are still at square one. And the main reason for us still being at square one was solely because I was in protect mode, you know, like I was in a space to where I didn't want to get hurt again. So it was a space where I wouldn't allow myself to heal. Because to heal means that your heart is open and you're ready to receive love again. And honestly, I wasn't. And I realized that, like, dang, I have been closed off to literally everything for a whole year. Like, I'm pretty sure that I was unapproachable. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, I mean, I did, but it was when I really want y'all to understand, and I emphasize this when I say this, is that I was a complete asshole. Like, I know y'all are thinking, okay, well, but that's understandable, you were hurt. But no, but listen, the woman that I was in year 2 was so, I was so much outside of myself that I didn't recognize myself. You know, like, the things that I was doing, the things that I was saying, they were so outside of the woman that I had previously groomed myself to be coming out of that toxic relationship that I was in, that it was just horrible. I was really, really so much outside of myself. I promise y'all. I promise y'all. Um, it was just bad. And that's one of the things that I feel like made me realize, like, is this really a relationship worth saving? Because I feel like anytime you revert back to an old you, after you know you've done the work to upgrade you and make you like this better person, that's just all bad. That's just all bad. If that makes sense. You know, because like I said, when prior to him, I was in an abusive relationship for 14 years. And once I got out of that relationship, it literally took me a year to truly, like, find myself. And that once he did what he did, I slowly started reverting back to the person that I said I never wanted to be. I slowly started reverting back to the person I said I never want to be this person again. I never want to be this type of woman. And it made me feel some kind of way because my husband brought me back to a place that I know was toxic, that I had grown from, and here I am again back in this toxic place, you know? So When I tell y'all I was a complete asshole to him, I was a complete asshole to him. And I was mad because I could recognize that I was in this, it's almost like a resentment stage, I guess. Because once you've done the work to make you better and then somebody comes along and they shit on the work that you've done, it really makes you feel some type of way towards them, and nothing good. You know what I mean? It really makes you feel some type of way towards them. So I was just looking at the fact that, like, damn, I did all of this work coming out of my last relationship to build myself back up, to heal me, to be in an environment where I could heal my kids, be the best mom that I could be for them. And then here comes this guy, okay? Here he comes, promising you the world and then drag you through the mud, you know? So I was really upset that that I could actually see what he had done to me. And it made me question, like, who the hell is this man? Like, who is he to do this? How do you come into somebody's life who's doing perfectly fine and just wreak havoc? Like, how dare you? That's what I was thinking. Like, how dare you? But that's what he did. So it was, yeah, I was just really, really upset. And then after I thought about, man, he took me back to a place that I said I never wanted to be again. The only thing that I could think of then was, oh, you got to pay for that. Like, you got to pay for taking me back to a place that I said I never wanted to go again. Somebody got to pay for that hurt. Okay? I'm going to put that on the shirt. Somebody got to pay for that hurt. But that's just how I felt. Like, nah, somebody going to have to pay for this. And because you did it, piper. It's time to pay the piper. So it's like, yeah, pay up. You going to have to pay for this. And the way you pay for this is I'm going to be shitty to you. I'm going to be an asshole to you. The person that I said I never wanted to be to you, you just opened up the can of worms. You just opened up that book. That chapter was closed, and now I have to open it up because now I got to teach you a lesson. I felt like, okay, nobody's ever done to you what you've done to them. All right, so now I have to be mean to you because you need to know what it feels like to be hurt. You need to know what it feels like to have somebody break your trust and totally disregard you, and just all this mean, hurtful, hateful stuff. And like I said, we were coming up onto year 2, and I really had to sit back, and I realized that for as much as I wanted to hurt him, I was hurting me even more because I put myself in a position to not grow because I was so hell bent on hurting him. And I was like, wow, Rita. So not only do you allow him to stunt your growth, but because you're angry and because you're hurting, you allow you to stunt your growth? Like, wow. Like, it's one thing for somebody else to do it to you. It's a whole nother situation when you inadvertently do it to yourself. And that's literally what I had done. Instead of me taking that time and reflecting and trying to grow from the hurt, I was trying to figure out, how do I make him feel how I feel? Because he doesn't understand. How do I show him that this is not how you treat somebody that you claim you love? So that whole year that I wasted being mad at him, being angry at him, being disappointed in him, was also a year that I really put myself in a position to not grow. So not only did he do it to me, but I allowed that hurt to do it to me. I did it to me. And that's the worst thing you can do. It's one thing, man, it is one thing for somebody else to stunt your growth. It is another thing for you to double that and do it to yourself. So I just felt really crappy. And that day was the day that I vowed. I was like, every year when our anniversary comes around, I have to, one, be real with myself, and I have to analyze, where are we? What did y'all do this year that's going to push you forward to next year? You know, that's also going to make him think twice about it. I would hope so. But honestly, I've learned over the past couple of years that um I honestly feel like, as far as uh our mental goals, I personally feel like I am light years ahead of him. A lot of times when I'm talking to him, I almost feel like I am talking to like a preteen, or like I'm talking to one of my sons, because it's so hard for me to simply convey the message that I want to him and actually have him really get it. If that makes sense. Um, so, I kind of just, that year, when our anniversary was coming around, and it's something that I always do, is I always self reflect. I feel like you really can't know how to move forward if you don't reflect on what you've done, where you're going, where you want to be, and factor in your past and everything. So I self reflect often, just so I can mentally have a headspace of where it is I'm going, what I'm lacking, what I need to do better in, or if I'm doing great in something, how I can keep it up, etc. So that year I vowed that I was gonna do this same thing every time our 1 year anniversary came around. So every time, that's just the gift that I was giving to myself, the gift of moving forward, the gift of progression. That's what I was giving to me, because I was like, you know what? I put myself in this situation because I wanted him to hurt, and I stunted my own growth. I'm not going to do that to me anymore. So because I'm not going to do that to me, I'm going to gift myself every year, you know, with the thought of, where are you? Self-reflection. That's the gift I'm going to give to my marriage every year. Even if he doesn't do it, I'm going to do it for me. Like, I know that coming out of the last relationship that I was in, I was in that relationship, and for some time I did not grow. I didn't have the growth that I wanted to have. And so I said, coming out of that relationship, I wanted to grow. Like, I wanted to explore. I wanted to experience. I wanted to live, you know? And I felt like I was going to do anything to make sure that I wasn't just existing. I was going to do everything in my power to make sure that I was living a life that I could be happy with, that I was living a life that I could be pleased with. And so that's what I was really trying to do. So I said, every year when our 1 year anniversary comes around, or when we get close to it, I need to actually, self-reflect. Like, where are we? Are we in a better space? Have we made any progress? Are things the same? Is the communication better? Just, I need to analyze our relationship on all levels, because if it's not beneficial to me, if it's not beneficial to my kids, if it's not growing us, progressing us on a daily basis, it's not a relationship that I can hold on to. It's not a relationship worth having. Like, the relationships I feel like I have now in my life, they need to hold value. They need to hold substance. And if it's not that, I don't want it. I just don't want it. And so that's literally what I do every year. And for as much as I've tried to get him to do it, I don't believe he does. I don't think that he does it, and if he does, I don't think he does it to the magnitude that I do it. Um, I've asked him time and time before. I said, "Hey, dude, why don't you self-reflect? Like, I feel like the things that have happened, um, if he would have just stopped and self-reflect, like, dang, this is how my first marriage ended. This is how my second marriage ended. What lessons did I take from that so I don't make the same mistake in my third marriage?" If he just would have stopped and did that, then some of the things that we're going through now, we wouldn't be going through, because you took a step back. You took some time for you so you could see where you messed up. But he told me that he doesn't self-reflect because no one has required it of him. And that threw me. Like, it threw me because I felt like, wow, that's just like, wow. Like, why don't you require it of yourself? Why does somebody else have to require you to reflect on you? Like, it's self-reflection. You should want to do better. You should want to move forward. You should want to progress. Nobody should have to tell you to self-reflect. So, yeah, that was that. But I was like, okay, I can't stay stuck on that because that's where he's at. I know that for me, my goal is to always be forward moving. And so at this point, I need to figure out what I need to do to be forward moving. Whether he's with me or not, I'm not gonna stunt my growth again. I'm not gonna do that. And so year two, I realized, that either we gonna fix it or we need to leave it alone. Now, in my realizing that, I did sit down with him and I told him that I felt like we needed to discuss divorce. And this was not me asking him for a divorce, because I had already done that. It did not work. I'd already stayed, of course. So it's like, okay, if I'm staying, we really got to figure out how this is gonna work, because we can't go through another year of us being in the same house together and we not speaking, or we're only talking about the kids, or we're only talking about our marriage won't be sustainable like that. We can't have another year like that. We can't have another unproductive year. So we need to seriously sit down and we need to revisit the whole deal breaker situation. We need to openly discuss divorcing. And the reason I say that is because initially when we went into the situation, of course, nobody gets married to get divorced, but we didn't talk about getting divorced in depth like we should have. I personally feel like divorce is, I'm not against it. I'm going to say that. I'm not against divorce. And the reason I'm not against divorce is because I feel like anytime you have two individuals who are very well capable of making up their own mind, they are in sound, um, in sync, in tune with their mind and their body. Like, they aren't crazy, they aren't mentally challenged, disabled in any type of capacity. I feel like when you have two people like that, at any point you can decide. You can wake up one day, whether things are good or bad, and decide, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. Marriage is not for me, and that's your choice. Like, you can leave the relationship. So I feel like anytime somebody has that free will is there, then divorce needs to be discussed. Because you can get married one day and feel like this is great, this is wonderful, and then 2 weeks later feel like, yeah, but I don't know if this is for me. So I think anytime people have the freedom to choose, um, then that it needs to be a discussion. It would be different if divorce, I mean, getting divorced was like, this is like a permanent contract. This is like, it's you're not able to break it. But honestly, that's not, I mean, it would be different if marriage was like a permanent contract. You're not able to break it, but that's not the case. It is definitely a contract, and contracts do get broken. So we didn't really talk about divorce a lot getting married, or even in the engagement phase. I do just remember him saying, if we get married and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I'm not getting married after you. Like, you're gonna be my last wife. And because I was already not a fan of getting married, I already told him, um if we get married, if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I'm not remarrying. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I wasn't a fan of it to begin with. And if I get divorced, that just confirms what I was initially thinking. So I'm not going to put myself in that position for a second time. And that's just real. That's just how I feel. So, you know, that was pretty much the depths or the gist of our whole marriage conversation. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like this long, deep, in-depth conversation. And I've always felt like in any event, if you wake up one day and decide that I'm not for you, I'm not gonna hold you there. I'm not gonna keep somebody that don't want to be kept. I'm not in that business. So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this liner together. Ooh, child, that is thick, thick, thick. Okay. So yeah, that was kind of that. I'm gonna use some of this glitter because I feel like I want some glitter. So yeah, we why did I just have a brain fart? I'm like lost. Y'all, what is the last thing I said? Because my brain just did some crazy shit. What was I talking about? I forget. Y'all gotta remind me. Oh yeah. I think I remember. So yeah, year two. Yeah, year two. So we discussed divorce. And he was saying that he wasn't okay with divorce, and you know, I was saying that I was, and it was just like pulling teeth, really. Not gonna even lie. It was just like pulling teeth. And I couldn't understand, I guess for me, I couldn't understand why he was so, you know, not really feeling divorce when I'm just like, well, you do things to make divorce an option. So I don't know how you really not feeling it, you know, when you do things that make it a very realistic thing. So yeah, nevertheless, we had a little discussion about divorce. Needless to say, we were still not seeing eye to eye because, like I said, I felt like, yeah, divorce is an option, and he felt like, nah, not really. And so I just figured like we just gonna have to agree to disagree, and anything else pops up, like we just got to let the chips fall where they may. So, going kind of, I guess, into year 3, we had decided like, okay, obviously he's got some issues that needs to be worked out, and I might not be the person that I might not be the person that he needs to talk to work out these issues, you know? So we decided to do counseling. And for me, I felt like since this is your mess up, I felt like he was the one that should spearhead pretty much all of the interaction or engagement that needed to happen to make this thing work. He totally feels different. He does not feel the same. So, he initially found a counselor and started going to counseling. And I was very open to going to counseling. I was like, okay, that's a move in the right direction, because obviously you have some things in your past that, you know, you need to take care of. And so I was all for counseling. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be supportive, etc., etc., whatever counselors say we need to do. End up going to counseling, and he just downplayed the whole damn situation, And I was just like, yeah, buddy, I'm not going to do this with you. If you're going to come to the counselor and you going to lie to the damn counselor about what's really going on, sign the papers. Like, give me a divorce now. Don't wait. You know, go ahead and let's sign the papers because you're not ready to face it. So we went to see one counselor, and that's pretty much what I told the counselor when we got there, and I was listening to how the story was unfolding. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna downplay the situation. Okay, cool. I'm not coming back. And so that's what I told the counselor. I told the counselor, I said, hey, listen, he's really downplaying the situation right now, and y'all can keep it. Y'all can keep this BS. I'm not coming back. Don't ask me to come back. I can't support somebody that's going to be lying. Don't ask me to take out work and miss no money to be sitting up here in this man's face so you can lie to him. That's just how I feel. And so the counselor was like, okay, you know, she not for it. And so, yeah, that's where I was at. So, ended up seeing another counselor. When he went to the second counselor, I told him that I thought that he needed to go to counseling alone, because I was like, you know, you got some stuff that you need to take care of, and maybe I don't need to be there. Maybe it's something that you need to talk about that you can't open up about in front of me. Maybe I need to be there. So you need to go to see a counselor alone. So he goes to see the counselor alone. Honestly, y'all, I don't really know what happened in the counseling sessions because, again, I was not there. I really wasn't going to, like, bug him about what happened in the sessions. And I just felt like whenever he was ready to talk to me about it, he would talk to me about it. And then, you know, we would discuss and just kind of go from there. Because it's been so long and my memory is actually just kind of crappy, I don't really remember what the conversation was with the second counselor that he went to go see. All I know is that he stopped seeing the second counselor. So he stopped seeing the second counselor, and that was just kind of that. And so after he stopped seeing the second counselor, I just kind of felt stuck because I was like, well, shit. Didn't work with the first counselor, and you went to see a second counselor and it's not working with the second counselor. Like, I don't know what other type of help or support I can offer to you, because I felt like what he needed was professional help. And, you know, we've seen 2 counselors already, and, you know, they're not the counselor for you. So what do we do? I started reaching out to some of my male friends who I know have healthy relationships, or who I know are in what seems to be like healthy marriages. And I was just kind of reaching out to them, letting them know, hey, this is the situation. I really like your input or your help or guidance or whatever, just so we can kind of move past this and figure out what it is that we're doing. And I tried to put men around him that I knew were men, you know, like a man's man, like men for real. And he didn't build any relationships from that, which was disappointing, because one of the things that's always been in the back of my head is that he has a really hard time with building relationships with other men, but he doesn't have a hard time building relationships with other women, which is, I don't know. I feel a way about that. Tried to put him around some men that I felt like would just grow him emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All of these men are men that I can truly vouch for, who I feel like, you know, they are like brothers to me, or like uncles to me, and I trust their judgment, I trust their hearts, I trust their information. And I knew that if he just would have took a chance, he could have got something out of it. You know, he could have got something out of it. I do feel like um, you are who you hang around. And because he doesn't hang around any men, and because he lacks so much emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I just felt like it would be good to put him around men who were doing how I felt fairly decent in those areas. You know, iron sharpens iron. So maybe he needs to be around people who can sharpen him. And that's really what I wanted for him. And so he didn't make nothing of those relationships. So I feel like that was kind of a slap in the face because I was trying, you know. I was just trying. I was trying anything. I felt like, okay, who can I trust with my marital information? Who do I trust to not judge him and just guide him and just be there for him? Like, who do I trust on that level, that deeply? And so I really had to, you know, like go into my archives and like, okay, I know this person has been in a marriage for this long, or even this person's been divorced and can give him some kind of an insight. But I was really just, you know, doing what I felt like. People were saying like, oh, you need to make sure that you exhaust all options and, you know, make sure you try everything before you give up. And that started to rub off on me. I was like, okay, you know what? If I got to be married, you know, I want to make sure that I did everything that I possibly could to make it work. I don't want to leave the situation, if I do, with like shoulda, woulda, couldas, or what ifs, you know? So, yeah, nevertheless, like I said, he didn't really make good on those relationships, which was kind of, I don't say it was kind of, it was a slap in the face. It was really a slap in the face because I knew that I knew I was doing the work. I knew I was just trying, especially, and I felt bad because the whole time in year one, half of year two, I treated him horribly. Like, I was just, you know, like I said, complete asshole. So I was really trying to just make up for that time. I was trying to make up for my being an asshole and not wanting to make the relationship work. Um, yeah, he just didn't make good on it. So I was just kind of stuck. Like, okay, I don't really know what to do. Um, I don't really know what to do with that. I don't really know what to do with that. So, yeah, that was that. And so then I kind of felt like, well, maybe I should talk to his dad. Like, you know, maybe his dad can offer some insight. Maybe he can offer some help. One of the things about his dad is that his dad, even though his mom has passed, his dad speaks so highly of his mom. You can tell that when he talks about his mom, that even in her death, he is still so very much in love with his wife. Like, he really is. So I was like, yeah, you know, maybe I need to have a conversation with his dad, kind of let his dad know what's going on. Maybe he can contact his son, you know, give him some words of wisdom, some words of encouragement. And at this point, honestly, nobody really knew what we were going through because I always have felt like in the event that I do decide to stay, I didn't want my family to be like treating him different, you know? I didn't want them to be like, well, you know, he tried to cheat on her and blah, blah, blah. Y'all know how family do. And I just didn't want to do that. I was like, so before I go blabbing my mouth about how he did X, Y, and Z, I need to first decide, am I staying or am I going? Because if I'm staying, this is not something that my family can know about because your family is your family. Your family gonna do what your family do. And so I was like, but if I'm leaving, you know, they entitled to their opinion. But do y'all get what I'm saying? I think y'all get what I'm saying. So, yeah, I felt like let me call his dad, let his dad know what's going on, and just see what kind of assistance, guidance, you know, he can offer us. And honestly, y'all, his dad said like the realest ish I would hear. And I honestly was not expecting his daddy to say what he said. And he pretty much just told me, he was like, you know, he was like, I really can't believe that y'all are in the situation that y'all are in. He was like, honestly, if you decide to leave him, is what he deserves. He was like, if you decide to leave, that's on him. He messed up. He was like, if you decide to stay and y'all work it out, that's great. That's fine. That's cool. And he was like, you know, I would want y'all to be happy. I would want y'all to get things back on track. And he was like, even if you decided to stay and you did to him what he did to you, he was like, that's on him. Like, that's what he deserves. He's like, because he put himself pretty much in this situation. And I was not expecting that from his dad. Honestly, I kind of expected him to like go to bat for his son. Like, I don't know. That it, I don't know. It caught me off guard. I was just like, that's just some real ish. That is like some really honest stuff. And I'm so glad his dad wasn't one of the dads like, well, you know, people make mistakes and give them another chance and da da this and da. And no, his daddy was like straight up, he was just really like in tune with what's right. Like, that's the best way that I can put it. He was just really in tune with, you did something and what you did comes with consequences, you know? Like, every action has a reaction. That's pretty much what his daddy was on. And it shook me to my core because I was like, yeah, I mean, like, he gets it. Like, he gets it. So, wasn't expecting that at all. And I'm so glad he didn't go that, like I said, the whole traditional route of, well, that's my son and give him another chance. And guys messed up and guys are stupid. Y'all know how people do with that whole crap, you know. Oh, men are dumb and I hate that because it's like, no, you know what you're doing and you know if what you're doing is right or wrong. So that whole men are dumb, men are stupid, y'all are smarter than us. A smart man not gonna lose what he want. Like, when you know you have something worth value, you treat it different. You treasure it a little bit more. And I told him it's just like going into a museum when they have things hidden behind, you know, the little glass cases or whatever. They don't have those things hidden behind glass cases because you can find it everywhere. They have those things hidden behind glass cases because they know it holds value. They want to protect it. They don't want it to decrease or deplenish in any way, shape, form, or fashion. That's the same way you have to do when you are in any relationship and you feel like the relationship holds value to you. You have to protect it. You have to act like you know what it's worth, and then you have to treat it that way. So, and it's kind of like how I explained it to him. You don't let anybody, um, you know, they don't walk up in a museum. You can't just walk up and take the glass off of these exhibits and touch on the stuff and, you know, drop it and show it off to art. Like, no, you can't do that. It's valuable. It's an heirloom. It's, you know, y'all get what I'm saying. But that's pretty much how I felt. So yeah, he was trying to, why is this doing like this? So yeah, his dad called him and talked to him. He's like, yeah, you know, I'll call and talk to him, no problem. And so his dad called and talked to him, and I asked him because he hadn't really said much, and I said, hey, you know, did you talk to your dad? And he was like, yeah, I talked to him. And honestly, I asked him, I say, you know, what did he say? And honestly, the same conversation that he gave to me was literally the same conversation that he gave to his son, which I appreciated because it let me know that you really want us to be on the same page. More so, you really want your son to learn his lesson. Like his dad didn't come and tell me one thing and then turn around and tell his son something else. He literally like kept it a buck and told him, straight up, like, this is your mess up. This is what you did. And, if she decides to stay and work it out, great. And if she decides to leave you, that's what happens. And if she decides to stay and she decides to mess over you, like, that's kind of like, it's the rules of engagement, pretty much. It's the rules of engagement. You stay at your own risk. So I could definitely appreciate that about his dad. I don't know if this is the color I want to do. If I want to do like a purple. So yeah, that happened. And we were just like trying to figure it out, and I don't know. For the longest, we just were kind of like in limbo with everything. Why do I feel like I want to do like maybe a darker color lip? What is this? What color is this? Oh God, that is deep dark. Oh, it's purple. Okay, we might try that. So, sorry, y'all. Had the conversation with Dad. I got like, don't worry about that. It's just purple lipstick. Had the conversation with Dad. Dad had the conversation with him. And he kept asking me, my husband, he kept asking me, he's like, what do I need to do to make it right? And initially I felt like, I don't want to have to tell you what to do to make it right. Like, you messed it up, so you need to figure out a way to fix it. Like, this is your problem. I don't want to be the one to tell you how to fix it. I personally don't think you should create a problem and not have a resolution for the problem that you created. I feel like if you're going to do some dirt, you're going to do some trash, you need to figure out how to clean it up. And he wanted so badly for things to go back to being the same. But, the context of everything had changed. And the way I kind of explained it to him was, I was like, you, for the most part, it's just like having a cup of water, right? And you say you're thirsty and, oh, I want to get a cup of water. And you go get a cup of water. And then you decide, well, I'm just going to pour a little bit of Kool-Aid in my water because I want a little bit of flavor. And then you pour the Kool-Aid in your cup and you realize, I don't really like the flavor. But this is the only cup of water you have. And now you want it to go back to water. It don't work like that, Like, you've contaminated your water. Like, you've dirtied your water supply. So it's not going to go back to being the same. So that's kind of the way I explained it to him. Like, you messed up and then now you want the situation to go back to the way it was, and you can't. Does that make sense, y'all? It made sense to me when I said it, y'all. But that's really how I looked at it. Like, you had this situation, and the situation was what you said you wanted it to be, and for whatever reason you decide, I'm gonna try and add a little lemonade to my water, a little lemon to my water. And then you add it, it's like, but I don't like it. I want my water back. But it's like, what? How you gonna take the lemon out of the damn water, sir? You either have to get you a new cup of water, or you're gonna have to turn that lemon water into lemonade. Does that make sense, y'all? Do y'all get that? Anyway, if y'all don't, that's the way I put it to him. And so that's what I meant by, like, you have to reinvent yourself. After you do things like that, you can't go back. Things don't go back to being the way they were. They can't, because it makes the person question, well, who were you initially in the beginning? Like, is this really who you are? Or is this just your representative? It makes you question a lot. So, oh gosh, I don't know how this happened. So, we were really just kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he wanted me to tell him how to fix it, and I wanted him to think. Like, for once, I want you to think. If this is what I did, how do I make it better? How can I make this right? I didn't want to give him the answer. I feel like that was too easy, you know? I wanted him to actually think. Like, what can I do to show her on a daily, on a regular, that I'm not this person, that I made a mistake, that I'm changing, etc., etc. That's what I wanted him to do. And for the life of me, he wanted me to give him the answers so badly, just because he wanted things to go back to the way they were. You know, he was, I think he was tired of, like, the bad energy in the house. I think that he was tired of, you know, the just being in an uneasy place. Just not having things the way they typically would have be, or normally were. I think he was just like, oh my God, I'm tired of this. I want things to go back to the way they were. And I wasn't ready to give him that normalcy back until I saw that he was really putting in the work, you know? It's like, no, I'm not going to let things go back to normal, because then it's going to be, I think that's like a slap in the face. You know, it almost makes it seem like, oh, it wasn't as bad of a situation as it was. And honestly, it was. So I wasn't ready to provide him that normalcy. I'm going to try and put this purple on. I don't know. This is probably going to get really, maybe I should do pink. I feel like that's going to get like really dark really fast. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I don't know. We'll see. So, yeah, for a long time, he was saying like, well, you have to help me make this work. You have to help me make this work. And I didn't have an issue with that. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But you have to initiate it. Like, you have to, it starts with you. It doesn't start with me. As much as I want to fix it, I'm not going to be the one to jump it off. Like, I didn't cause this issue, you did. And he was like, I know that I made this bed, and I know I got to lay in it. And I pretty much told him, that's the thing when you're married to somebody. Your consequences and your situations are no longer solely yours. They are ours. So not only did you make the bed for you when you made it, you know, you made that same bed for me. So now I have to go through things because of your choices. Things that I didn't want to go through, but because we're married to each other, I got to deal with this crap too. So just know that when you made that bed for you, you made it for me too. You know? That's, I'm not going to say that's the beauty in marriage, but that's definitely, it's definitely a thing. You can't do something and think that it only affects you when you're married to somebody, because it affects everybody. It has like a trickle-down effect. Everybody's affected. And that's really what it was. And that's what I was trying to get him to understand. It's like, he keeps saying, I know I made this bed and I got to lay in. I know. No, baby. Everybody has to lay in this bed, because everybody's going to be affected by this one decision. It has really rocked our house. So it's not just you. Yes, and that's what that literally still right now is what I'm trying to explain to him. He thinks, you know, that I am supposed to, what color is this? What the heck? Yeah, that's one of the many things that is an issue right now, and I'll get to that in time. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Um, so that was, that was me pretty much telling him, like, it starts with you. Like, you got to be the one to think, like, think outside the box. You know what you did. You know that the trust is not there. Communication is not there, and honestly, you have to rebrand yourself. Who are you really? Because I no longer feel like you're the person that I was engaged to. I no longer feel like you are the person that I dated. Um, for all intents and purposes, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. I know who I thought you were, and then you showed me you weren't that person, and now you're telling me, no, 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 I am that person. Sir, you're confusing. You're confusing me, and you're confusing you. And my biggest issue with that was that you don't know who you are. I think when people start doing things like that, it's because they truly don't know who they are. And how am I supposed to know who you are if you don't know who you are? So that within itself, just him wanting me to give him the answer, it pissed me off even more, because I felt like you're not even trying to figure out what can I do differently. So what I told him is I said, I got tired of the whole, um, how do I want to say this? I got tired of there wasn't like attempts at him trying to fix it, but every time we would have discussions about fixing it, he would always say, but I don't know what to do, but I don't know what to do, but I don't know what to do. And I got tired of hearing, but I don't know what to do. So I was like, all right, you need to reinvent yourself. I straight up told him, you need to reinvent yourself. That's what you need to do. And when I said you need to reinvent yourself, he said, what does that mean? And I felt like, damn, not only do you want me to give you the answer, but now you want me to walk you through it? Like, come on, like, work with me. Show me that you want, like, that you, come on. So that annoyed me. I was just like, dude, like, you want me to, I didn't cause the situation. Not only did I not cause the situation, now I have to tell you how to fix the situation? God damn. It was gonna be all of this now. So I was perturbed at the fact that now I've pretty much given you the answer, and here you are telling me, okay, reinvent myself. How I do that? And it's almost like, what? That was just like a slap in the face for me, because I didn't want to give you the answer. I really wanted you to work at figuring out, what do I do to regain her trust? What do I do to regain her love and affection? How do I get this household back on track? Just think, just think. And yeah, he struggled hard, badly, struggled very badly with the whole rebranding of his stuff. And I think, for me personally, and like I said, this is my own opinion, the reason I think it was so hard for him to rebrand himself, or even for anybody to rebrand themselves, is because if you don't truly know who you want to be, the type of man that you are, the type of woman that you are, you don't know where to start. You don't know what it is about you that you want to keep. You don't know what it is about you that you want to change. You don't know what it is about you that you could possibly do different. So I think that's why he struggled really badly with the whole, you need to rebrand yourself, because it makes you, again, it makes you evaluate, and it makes you say, who am I? Values. What do I stand for? What do I want? What do I not want? What am I willing, what can I negotiate on? What are my deal breakers? It really makes you evaluate you as a person. And when you don't know you, it's almost like starting at square one. You're starting at a blank canvas all over again. Because you can only put on for so long. Your representative is only going to be there for so long before the real you shows up. And I think that's why he struggled so horribly to rebrand himself, because you don't know who you are. And I can't tell you who you are. That's on you. That's for you to do. I can say I've seen who you can be, but I can't tell you who you are. So definitely struggled with the whole rebranding thing. And I still think even now he struggles, because it really makes you have to take a look at yourself and dig deep, really gotta take a look at yourself and dig deep. And so that's really where we were. It was really on him to just look at himself and say, who am I? Who do I want to be who I want to be as a son, as a brother, as a nephew, as a stepfather, whatever your roles are. That's what you then have to start evaluating as a person. So that was hard. That was hard. I'm trying to, let me see if I can cut this child. So it's really hard for us to move past that one specific point, because there wasn't any work for me to do, like all the work was still dependent upon him, looking at him. So our marriage was definitely at a standstill, because he wouldn't evaluate him. So for as much as I didn't want to tell him how to fix it and what to do and et cetera, even after I did, he still didn't know where to go with it. He still did not know. Oh my God. Still didn't know where to go with it. If y'all want to come comb my hair, I'm all for that. I really need to braid it down so I can put a wig on, but just, gosh. Listen, this is horrible. My head. So, I guess I'll stop it there. I'm gonna stop it there. Look at my head. I'm about to get my baby hair together. I guess I'll stop there, guys, because I've been on for quite some time. And my munchkins are going to be up in a minute. And I definitely have to mommy. Got to get them mommy duties going. But I will definitely pick it back up on... Oh, yeah, definitely. We can definitely reconvene on Tuesday. A lot of times, the reason I'm spreading them out days-wise is because I just kind of want to take the time to, like, unpack everything, you know what I mean? And then feel whatever I'm feeling, and then let that feeling go, Because I've healed so much from these situations, I don't want to, I say a scar, but, scabs happen, and I want to make sure that I'm not, somebody told me the other day after listening to the live that I did on Tuesday, that it triggered them, and it brought up some emotions that were not really good emotions. So I don't want to trigger anybody. So I just want to be able to say what I want to say and express myself the way I want to, without really causing it to trigger anybody or even, you know, trigger me. I doubt it would trigger me, but just the simple fact that I got a couple people messaging me saying that they thought they were over something until they heard me saying what I said and it triggered them. Like, I don't want to trigger anybody badly. So I won't, I'm just trying to like say how I feel, say what I mean, and then leave it there, you know, just leave it there. So yeah, I'm about to jump off of here. I'm gonna read y'all comments and I'm gonna reply to the comments, and then I will come back Tuesday and we'll kind of pick up where we left off on Tuesday. So I'm gonna do my hair. Well, I'm really just gonna put it in a ponytail, but yeah. Anyway, I'll post pictures and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Peace. Mr. Boombox Dude.